So just talk through what we've got here today. So we've got our ECU and all of the components that go together with our ECU to pretty much run the Gen-V throttle bodies and the fuel injection system on the Alpha. So we've got a Fueltech FT450, and this is something that Dandy Engines put together for us. And this is something that's been used as part of the original tune when the car was on the dyno. So we've got our wideband O2 sensor here, we've got our oxygen sensor, and then all of effectively the looms and the supporting cabling needed to run this setup. It allows us to get the most out of the car, which is going to be really, really cool. This is all getting wired up now, and we expect to have all of this in within the next week or so, and hopefully firing the engine up for the first time in a couple of weeks. We're pretty close now. So since we last filmed, we've got the engine back in. So the engine's now been dynoed. We've got 187 horsepower on the dyno at 7,300 RPM. You know, in this car being so light, under 1,000 kilos, it should be really responsive and a really fun car to drive. So the Gen-V throttle bodies did perform really well, and together with the Fueltech, it's proving to be a really, really good system. So we've got the engine back in, it's all committed now, so everything's sort of been bolted back in. We've got the air conditioning compressor and the kit from Alphaholics all dialed in as well. There was a little bit of modification work we had to do to the bracket here to get it to sort of fit within in the engine bay, but also to clear things like the alternator bracket and work harmoniously with the other components. But that's all in now, which is really good, and we've got that dialed in. We've got the transmission is all in as well. Clutch, flywheel, everything's all plugged in. Secondary slave, because we're running a hydraulic clutch, is all in, and we've got an Alphaholics racing clutch and Alphaholics light and flywheel. Before all of that, we've put all of the heat shielding in, pretty much from the transmission tunnel all the way to the diff. We're also putting heat shielding in on top of the exhaust wrap, but we've got heat shielding in on all the floor pan as well. Now, as you can see, we're starting to sort of get the wiring done. We've got the harness up here that we're just finishing up the wiring on at the moment, but we're getting, you know, all of this effectively dialed in. Even little things like the wipers, we've got all of them done. We had to recalibrate the motor and the arms, which sit under here. They weren't calibrated, so when the wipers finished, instead of finishing or parking here, they would park post the window. So that was another few hours of work there, but that's all calibrated and done now. You can even see there's a mark here from when the wipers we've been testing them. So wipers are all done, engine is all installed. Now we're just getting hoses. We're modifying the front radiator to have the condenser on it. We've modified all this throttle system now. That's all ready to go. We've just got to finish refitting some of the components in. But all of the new fittings and sensors are all in as well. So we're all good to go. Here we've got our aluminium Alphaholics radiator. This is going to be it's much lighter, but it's actually going to perform much better than the current radiator, or the original radiator, I should say. We've also got our condenser for the air conditioner and our thermo fan. So this has all just been mocked up, but this is going to be welded in today, and then we can mount it back in the car. So we've got that all ready to be welded in. Again, it was just mocked up just so we could work out where we're running all of our hoses and light for air conditioning. Here we've got our Alphaholics battery box. So that's going to go in the boot. We've just got to change the mounts here and have them at the bottom. This is designed to go into the engine bay, but like I was saying earlier, we want to sort of try and keep the engine bay as clean as possible. So we're just going to run this in the boot of the car. I can show you the boot and just show you what we've sort of been up to. So here we've got our fuel system. So here we've got our fuel pump, here we've got our fuel regulator, and then here we've got our fuel filter. And we decided this is an Alphaholics style setup where you just run it all in this, what originally used to be the fuel tank. And then we've got our Alphaholics racing fuel tank up here. And then we've got our reservoirs for clutch and our 2-brake reservoirs up here as well. And this Raceworks bottle is a washer bottle. So the way this all goes together is we just have this pretty much just going in here. I've just got to move some of this wiring, but this goes in here nice and clean and neat. And then we'll have the battery effectively sort of where my hand is here. We can then at least you can even put some carpet in, and you can still use this with, you know, a little bit of storage, a little bit of luggage. It's not going to be massive, but, you know, it's not designed to be a daily driver, as in, you know, take luggage and stuff around. Since we last spoke as well, we've had doors have all been completed. So hinges in, all the rubbers are now in. As you can see here, we've got the Alfaholics dual density rubbers. They're working really, really well. We've tried so many different kinds of rubbers and they're the only ones that have actually performed well and let us close the doors, to be honest. Some of the other rubbers are just impossible to work with, and these have been really good. Also, last time I had taken all the internals out of the doors, so the glass, the regulator here, and the door handles and everything, because what we had was we had a few bolts. One of them was fine, another one had a bolt snapped in it, and the other one, the thread was all gone. So we've repaired all of that. This is now all really tight. All the threads are all new. We've retapped them, we've cleaned everything up, we've repainted all of this, and we've put the Alfaholics billet hinges on, and this thing now aligns really well, closes really well, sounds really nice when it closes, and we've got all the gaps and all the alignments all done really well. So this was a massive headache, and it's been a good 30 if not 40 hours getting these doors just dialed in and aligned. So that's really good. That's all done. You can see the massive mess there, but that's the reality of wiring a car up, right? So that's all the wiring. So we've got our Alfaholics fuse panel here on the kick panel, which will be covered once it's all done. And then under the dash there, you can see that's just all the wiring that comes with this car now. So that's for obviously, all the standard things like, indicators and headlights and the evaporator or heater box, wipers, and so on. And some of that is the engine loom, but you saw all that additional wiring up on that bench earlier, and that's all the engine loom. Under the car, there is a whole bunch of insulation. So we've used Car Builder's insulation. I think I talked about it earlier, but we've got it running from the tunnel, so at the firewall, all the way to the rear of the car. What was really interesting is these cars had factory heat shield over the two mufflers in the car. So, and that's from 1967. Now, we're not putting those original heat shield products back in. We're going to use modern day stuff. So we're sort of using a 3-step approach to address heat. One is we're wrapping the headers and the exhaust all the way to the tailpipe. 2, we're putting the stick-on heat shield on the floor and within the tunnel of the car. And 3, we're making 2 heat shield style brackets, one for the front and one for the rear, that go over the mufflers, that go in place of where the original ones were, but we're using modern material that should be much more efficient. Now with those 3, should really reduce heat that comes into the cabin, and also just heat within the engine bay, and just make the car run just a lot nicer without, and without having to deal with, issues of overheating and stuff. So we're getting a lot of things now dialed in. So doors and panels are all done. We've just got to finalise the fuel system. The drive line's all in, so tail shaft is in, the transmission's in, and the engine's in. And now it's about running all the auxiliary things, hoses, electrics. We've just got to finish some of the fuel system. Going to put the headers on today, and just keep working through each thing step by step until we get it all done.